Hello, Easy Enough English members, and welcome to this week's TOEFL class. Now remember, this is a continuation or the next video in the series of TOEFL questions or the TOEFL passage that we did last week, which was taken from this book here. Remember, the ETS Official Guide to the New TOEFL IBT, okay? And our last passage was on desert formation. If you remember, we read a passage, or rather I posted a passage from this book about desert formation, how deserts are being formed by by artificial means, or not by natural occurrence. They don't happen naturally, okay? But by the stresses that we as humans put on the land, or because of erosion or things of that nature. Okay, so this is all taken from that same book. This is just actually the fourth question from that passage. And I didn't do the first. I think I skipped one question, which was a vocabulary question. Okay, I skipped those questions because I feel that these questions are probably more important to getting you to understand how to develop a sense of critical thinking and passage retention. Okay, retention means remembering what you read and going back and searching for the answers in the passage. Okay, so that's why I've skipped some questions. That's why they don't go in numerical order. So let's get right to it. Today's today's question on the passage is, according to paragraph 5, in dry periods, border areas have difficulty A. Adjusting to stresses created by settlement, B. Retaining their fertility after desertification, C. Providing water for irrigating crops, or D. Attracting populations in search of food and fuel. Okay, now I'm going to read the fifth paragraph to you, but remember, I'm also going to post it in the comment section of this video. Okay, let me find it very quickly because I closed my book. Okay, there is no doubt, however, that desertification in most areas results primarily from human activities rather than natural processes. That just means that more areas that aren't deserts before are becoming deserts because more and more people are settling or starting to live in areas. And that's actually one of our vocabulary words here, settlement. And settlement just means to begin living in a place. Okay. The semi-arid lands bordering the deserts exist in a delicate ecological balance and are limited in their potential to adjust to increased environmental pressures. Okay, that just means that the areas between where many people live and other areas where there's not many people, those areas on the border, the line between those two places, the land is having trouble providing all of the things that it can for the people who live in that area because the populations are growing. There are more and more people that need resources from the land. So in those areas bordering on where there are large populations of people and no large populations of people, the line between those, they're having trouble adjusting and providing all the things that are needed. Okay. Expanding populations, which means populations getting bigger, are subjecting the land to increasing pressures to provide them with food and fuel. In wet periods or periods with a lot of rain, the land may be able to respond to these stresses or deal with these stresses. The stress will be too much for the land. During the dry periods that are common phenomena along the desert margins, which means all deserts have a dry period where there's very little rain. Though the pressure on the land is often far in excess of its diminished capacity, and desertification results. That just means that in dry periods, the land can't deal with providing so much food and fuel for people living in those areas. So that process results in the land becoming more barren, which means not very fertile and not being able to provide all the things it needs for the people who live in that area. Okay. Now let's take a look at our question again, and let's read it again. According to paragraph 5, in dry periods, now we know what dry periods are. You see I've underlined that. Okay, dry periods is just a time where there's not a lot of rain. Border areas, okay, and we've already discussed or talked about border areas. Border areas is just the place between large populations of people and an area or a place where not many people live, okay? Have difficulty. So these places have difficulty because of which of the following things, okay? Now, you see I've boxed in a lot of vocabulary words here, so let's go over those first, okay? As you can see, number 1, adjusting. What does it mean to adjust? To adjust means to get used to something. So getting used to something. If you are getting used to something, you're adjusting to something. Let's say your son or daughter changed English teachers in their class, okay? They really liked their English teacher before, so when the new teacher came, they were having a lot of trouble. They didn't want to go to school. They weren't doing their work. That's a period of adjustment. They are adjusting or getting used to the new teacher, okay? Next word is stresses. What is a stress? Well, a lot of us adults know what stresses are. Stress is anything or something that makes you worry, okay? So they're getting used to, these border areas have trouble getting used to the things that make it worry created by settlement. Now, we know that things that aren't alive can't worry. So what does that mean? Okay, stresses in this context just means all of the things that those large populations of people take from the land, okay? Those are stresses. So the land has to provide for those people. Just like any plant or any resource that you take from the land, when you take that, it's gone, and it takes a little while for it to grow again, okay? So that would be a stress, okay? Settlement. Remember, settlement is just when people start living in a place. Retaining. To retain is to keep, okay? So when it says retaining their fertility, which is number 5, fertility means the ability to support plant life. In this example, we're not just talking about plant life. And fertility doesn't always have to be about plant life, okay? The fertility can also mean if you're a human, and let's say, well, nobody says it's about humans anymore, but if you're a very fertile human, that means it's easy for you to have children, okay? It's easy for you to support and give life, to birth children, okay? So that's what fertility is. It's ability, something's ability to support life, okay? In this context, it means plant life and human life as well. Plant life because plants are some of the resources that we take from the land, the most important one probably, because we use it as food, okay? But also human life. The more fertile the land is, the more plant life it can create, the more human life it can support. More humans will come there if there's a lot of stuff to eat there, okay? The 6th word is irrigating, okay? To irrigate means to give water to plants. Now, when I say give water to plants, I'm not talking about rainfall. I'm talking about humans making a system where water is delivered and provided, given to the plants, right? So for farming, right? When people farm, they don't always depend on rain to help their plants grow. They have to irrigate their crops or dig in trenches in the crops so that water can come through and provide moisture and part of what plants need to grow, which is water and sunlight, right? So irrigation is any kind of system that is man-made that gives water to plants. Okay, crops. Crops are just plants that we eat. Okay. Number 8, populations are just large numbers of people in an area. Okay. So Taipei has a very large population. That means there are many people living in Taipei City. And finally, the last one is fuel. Fuel is any source of energy for a machine, right? Humans have fuel too. We can call food our fuel, right? But most of the time when we say fuel, we're talking about any source of energy for a machine, right? Like if we go to the gas station, we know our car needs gas, right? That is fuel. Okay, now that we've defined all the words in our question and in our answers, let's think about this answer, okay? So, what did paragraph 5 say about border areas having difficulty doing? Okay. A, adjusting to stresses created by a settlement. B, retaining their fertility after desertification. Well, as we go through this, we can actually scratch off B because our paragraph 5 ended saying that because humans put stress on the land turns to the process of desertification happens as a result. So we make desertification because we take resources from the land and then that land doesn't have those resources anymore. So that's where paragraph 5 ended. It didn't say anything about how fertile or how much life that land can support after desertification happens. So we can cross this one out. Okay, providing water for irrigating crops. Well, in the paragraph, we didn't hear anything about farming or irrigation. Okay, there was no mention of farmers irrigating crops and making a system of irrigation to provide water to plants artificially. The paragraph did talk about the different periods, dry periods and wet periods, but those are natural occurrences. Wet periods would be times of more rain, dry periods, less rain. But it doesn't say anything about irrigating, which is a man-made system to give water to plants. So we can scratch that out. So now we only have two answers here. Now let's look at our two answers. Okay, D is attracting populations in search of food and fuel. Well, let's take a look at the sentence that I've written over here. I might be out of screen for a little while. Sorry, I apologize. Okay. Expanding populations are subjecting the land to increasing pressures to provide them with food and fuel. So here we have mention of food and fuel, right? But the paragraph doesn't say anything about attracting, which means making people want to come to that area, okay? It didn't say border areas have difficulty with making people want to come. It said nothing about people migrating or more people who are not already settled in that place coming to live in that place again. So, insofar as making people want to come because of something about the land. But it did mention what? Let's underline that. Oh, sorry. An expanding population. Expanding means what? Growing. Growing populations, okay? So it did talk about growing populations, but it didn't say that, it didn't specifically say anything about attracting the land, attracting populations, or making populations want to come. It didn't tell us why they want to come. It didn't say that the border areas have difficulty doing that. Well, it said the exact opposite, actually. It said that despite the border areas' difficulty is not that they have trouble making people want to come because the problem is caused by the expanding population, okay? We don't need to worry about, oh, do more people want to come here? Is the border area having trouble making people want to come? Well, no, that's not the problem. The problem is there's already too many people, okay? So we can scratch that out, which only leaves us with answer A, which is the correct answer, which is also mentioned in this sentence that I've written for you. This is where the answer is, okay? Are subjecting the land, okay? What does this word subjecting mean? Okay, subjecting the land to increasing pressures. If you subject someone to something, you force them to deal with something. You put something on them that they have to handle or they have to bear or deal with. And that thing is not always a good thing. To subject someone to something you usually use that in a negative way. It's usually something negative. If someone is subjecting you to something, right? So right now, for some of you, I could be subjecting you to a boring lecture, which means you think this is really boring, okay? Now, subjecting someone to something, like I said, is usually used in a negative way. Why is this negative? Because the land, we're subjecting them to the land to what? Increasing pressures to provide us with two important things that we need to live, which are food and fuel, okay? So as the population grows, the land is becoming less and less likely to be able to support so many people and to give those people food and fuel, right? It didn't say what fuel it meant, but that doesn't matter. We just needed to find the correct answer according to paragraph 5. Okay, guys, that's the video. I hope you liked the video. This one was a little long, but these TOEFL test preparation questions are always a little bit long because there's a lot of analysis, a lot of thinking going on in these, okay? This is why I do these videos, because they are very important, okay? If you like the video, be sure to leave me a comment in the comment section. As always, if you have any questions, you know how to reach me, okay? And also remember, you can use Facebook Messenger. Chinese is okay. Well, I hope to hear from you guys soon. Thanks, and bye-bye.